Hi, Radha.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me now? Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Sorry, I
Okay.
was setting this mic up.
It's okay. To share with you the before we start, the way we're gonna do it is like I will take over the first 10 minutes, and then the rest will be you and me.
Okay, sounds good. So I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't prepare any slides, so it's just going to be interactive, right?
And you can find tools to start building. So everything about building, you will go to build.openguild. And then next one is the learn.openguild. So it's this platform mainly created to help developers or curious minds understand the whole ecosystem, everything about learning. um it's an education hub. It's a self-paced, so it's really up to you how what you want to learn first, or if you want to follow the structures that we did here. We also post here the technical challenges if you want more hands-on experience on building on Polkadot. So yeah, if you are new, if you haven't been, or if you're not a member of our Discord, if you're building, if you want to learn more about Polkadot, Discord is our place to be. So our team is active there. If you want support, if you have questions, our team is very active in terms of giving support to anyone building on Polkadot or building in general. So yeah, to the next part of this call, Polkadot ecosystem update. So we also use this part so everyone here can be updated to what's going on in the ecosystem. So first of all, PBA kicked off in Bali last week or 2 weeks ago. Oh no, last week Monday. Yes. So OpenGuild was also there. We were able to meet the instructors, the students, and yeah. So good luck to all the students of this cohort. It's gonna end, I believe, next week. Good luck. Next for hydration, so they just hit $400 million in TVL. Last update, I think, was 2 or 3 weeks ago with 300 million in TVL. So this is another milestone for hydration. So congratulations. Keep hitting your milestones. And for Velocity Labs, so just before this call, I was watching the DeFi Builder program with Nico and the Velocity Labs team. So if you want to learn more, they just had their live discussion on LinkedIn. Just check Polkadot there, and they just recorded their live stream. So you can learn more about DeFi Builder program. And then for Mythical Games, so it was Apple's Game of the Day on August 24. So for an application to be Apple's Game of the Day, there's a lot of considerations. Of course, user experience, user interface, innovation, all the things that can be promoted inside the Apple Store. So congratulations to Mythical Games. I think this is something to celebrate a bit. And for the community, so we are all planning to activate this Polkadot build party. Of course, OpenGuild is part of supporting this. This build party starts 6th of October. It's 6 weeks. This is an online hackathon. 6 weeks, 30K USD prize pool with 3 tracks. So follow Polkadot and follow OpenGuild X account for more updates about this. Um, we are working also with the Events Bounty. Events Bounty is quite leading for Roots organizers to activate this build party. So it depends where you are. Hopefully, Polkadot is there. But again, feel free to join our Discord, and we will tell you where you can find the build party in your local community.
It's actually, I'm sorry, it's actually $40,000.
Oh, it's 40 now.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 40 now.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Radha, for updating that. So I will
All
update
good.
it later on. Okay, so going back to OpenGuild's initiative. So as I mentioned earlier, OpenGuild was in Bali also. PBA was it started right after the CoinFest. So during CoinFest, OpenGuild hosted this Polkadot branch side event with Seller. So yeah, I just want again to thank Seller Wallet, Sean from Parity, also an instructor in PBA, and of course Adrian from Mandala Chain for attending this side event and gracing the event with your presence. So thank you to everyone who also attended. It was nice to meet you all there. And of course, lastly, for OpenGuild, we just started the newsletter for monthly recap for all the activities and ecosystem news for regional builders to get updated. So yeah, if you want to be added in our newsletter list, subscribers list, feel free to reach us out and we will add you there. Again, if you're new, please feel free to join OpenGuild, follow us on X, join our Discord. Most importantly, follow Polkadot X account for more updates, especially with the hackathon, build party, and all these things where you can where you can join or if you want to build on Polkadot. Also with the Velocity Labs DeFi Builder program. I'll pass the mic to you now, Tin. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia. Hello, Radha. Yeah. And yeah, it's really great to have you here. I think like for the people in Polkadot, we're already quite familiar with your face. You appear like in a lot of like conferences, and also like you like a very amazing like technical lead. So today we're gonna discuss a bit about like how like educations in Polkadot works, and also like what's the preparations for the upcoming new features of Polkadot, and how we gonna can like prepare for it. So, can you share with the audience a bit about your personal journey into the Web3, and also like what you use, to focus on the education within the Polkadot ecosystem?
Sure. So I'm for the audience who don't know me, I'm Radha. I work at like Web3 Foundation. So it's been 4 years since I've joined like Web3 Foundation and Polkadot ecosystem, right? So um, starting with like what you mentioned, like I'm an educator to begin with. Even before I joined like Polkadot, I was teaching at the universities. I was teaching computer science courses. Specifically, my PhD was in AI, so I was doing like AI programming courses in the US. So sometime, in 2020, I was curious about what's going on in the decentralized space. So I was looking at like Ethereum ecosystem, and then from whatever computer science knowledge I had, I was like, hey, this blockchain is cool, but I know that it wouldn't scale to, if we were to bring everybody online onto this blockchain, definitely there'll be a huge bottleneck, right? So I was trying to look at who were trying to solve this problem. So then I stumbled on like Polkadot. So I looked at the architecture, I looked at the, parallel way of doing things like with sharding. So I was like very curious about it. So I dig deeper, and then I learned that okay, so they have an office in Switzerland. Like I was in the US at the time, and they're hiring like a technical educator. So I took my chance. I applied, and then I ended up here, right? So, but I think to circle back on like the education part of the whole thing, I think during my job interview, my value proposition was that I'll create an online course for like Polkadot and blockchain. And that's what I did like right after I joining. So we chose edX platform. So there was like blockchain, Web3, and like Polkadot courses there. And then last year I worked very closely with like Polkadot Blockchain Academy to create like this PBAX like online course. So far 4 waves sort of happened there, and more are incoming. So we're not stopping there. So we're trying to establish partnerships with like leading universities, and then trying to get like Polkadot into the curriculum there as well.
Mm.
So I hope that gives a broad overview of like what my role is. Yeah.
One curious question for my end is AI space and blockchain space, from my understanding, even though it has some intersection in recent years, still like I think the culture is a bit different, right? So when you switch from academic AI to like blockchain space and like technical educator, what was the difficulties? What was like the challenge that you have to face and the culture switch that you got there?
Yeah, the culture is very different, right? Like so at the university, so I was teaching in University of Vermont, so which was in the north part of like the US. Um, so there's a lot of respect for like professors in general. So the students are very curious. They come to classroom, they sit and learn about what is being taught, and then I switched to like blockchain, and then all of a sudden the culture was around like the price action of dot, for instance, right? So it's a very different community here. So I had to understand who my target like audience is, like who my who the learners are. So then I had to like there was like a cultural shock for me, like being able to um, uh, teach to like different diverse audience. So then I shifted my focus to, hey, okay, so this is the community, but who do we want to exactly reach with this education program? So and that's where we chose edX as a platform, because edX is like so it was a startup from Harvard and MIT. So it attracts like learners from all over the world who are either professionals or students at the universities. We wanted to reach them in particular, so those who are not even exposed to these tokens or this all this like noise. I would say if you would like to learn the technology properly, I think you need to focus uh, on like people who haven't been part of like this noise in a way. So yeah, it has been the journey so far, and still I think we managed to attract the kind of like audience that we wanted in in like the Polkadot ecosystem, especially with like Polkadot Blockchain Academy and PBAX courses. Like I think they have given, I mean, that platform has given the opportunity for a diverse range of learners to learn about this, learn about the technology, without having to be bogged down about like price or tokens in general.
Hmm. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's a really cool answer. As a developer, like I'm also like curious, like what's the difference between a developer and also a technical educator in Web3 foundations? Like what's the main
Polkadot
difference?
ecosystem,
And
especially with like Polkadot Blockchain Academy.
hi Pat, can you mute your mic? Okay.
Yeah. So this is a question that I asked myself too. Like when I joined like Web3 Foundation and then a year passed, like I published these two courses on like edX and I'm like, okay, so do I do some DevRel work here as well? Or should I just stick to educating like students, learners, giving talks, talking about Polkadot technology at a high level, to various like entities like enterprises or politicians or regulators. So this has been my workload at the beginning. Then I figured, yes, okay, this is important, but with the computer science background that I have, I should be able to do some kind of like DevRel work within the ecosystem as well, right? So then I've attended like PBA in UC Berkeley. So I was one of the students. I think that's the third in-person like PBA offering. So this was in 2023. So I did that and then got a comprehensive overview of like Polkadot SDK, Polkadot APIs, what we can do, what we can't do with it. So since then, I've been actively involved in the DevRel work as well. So I've tried to bootstrap this DevRel team from early this year, and that's how I got to know OpenGuild even like better, right? So all of you, so we have like Papermoon, who's doing like Polkadot documentation. We have Parity, who are like the developer powerhouse, like of the ecosystem. So yeah, it's been a journey to try to put all of these decentralized actors together and then sort of bootstrap this eco devrel group. Like it's a group of over like 50 people. So since yesterday, like we onboarded a few parity folks in there as well. So it's been an interesting journey, right? So where do I draw the line between the technical education at Web3 Foundation and then the DevRel work that should happen with like Polkadot? So I see myself as the lead technical advocate. So that's my title at Foundation. So I have to be good with like both. I should be able to speak at conferences. I should be able to speak at GM Vietnam, to a broader audience, as well as I should be able to speak at developer conferences as well. I should be able to go to ETH Denver and then sort of talk over there as well. So that was my goal for the last like 2 years. I was trying to upskill myself with Polkadot technology stack and then you know talk to like different audience in a way.
Yeah, thank you. So from your perspective, like why is technical education such like a critical factor for like Polkadot compared with like other ecosystem?
Yeah, Polkadot, nobody. So if you go to someone and then say Polkadot, so nobody sort of gets it. So they, oh, okay, I know Bitcoin. If you go even like further, like they're like, hey, I know Ethereum and smart contracts, but that's where the general awareness of like blockchain education ends. For them to understand something like Polkadot, they need to have that curiosity to see like what's beyond those two like protocols. And the other thing is like how do you speak to them without losing them. It's common in Polkadot ecosystem that we get bogged down by this terminology or terms or all this fancy terms that we use. So how do we not lose them and then give them like the insight into what exactly we are doing? So I think that's the role like technical education team plays. That's why we have been tasked with maintaining the Polkadot wiki. So on the Polkadot wiki, we try to uh, write in length about the Polkadot concepts so that any curious like learner or reader is able to get the sense of like, yeah, hey, what we are trying to achieve with this, right? So a simple example is staking. Like, why does Polkadot do such a sophisticated mechanism for staking when other protocols are doing it in a very simple way? So why do we have like this nominated proof of stake? Why do you have to choose 16 validators? Why are you being assigned to a single validator or multiple validators? So all of these concepts, I think they require someone to first digest it. Like, somebody needs to sit with the researchers at Web3 Foundation and the developers in the ecosystem, try to understand, okay, what their point of view was, like when they developed this protocol, and then digest it and then sort of like put it out in a user-friendly way, learner-friendly way in the wiki or like courses. So I think, and so that's the foundation of the role. And then there's more to it. So once you do that, like you would want to also attract like developers who see like how decentralized we are to sort of like develop on top of the protocol. So definitely, I think the technical education team plays a huge role, uh, putting their face out there, putting their like credibility out there to sort of explain what's going on in Polkadot.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. So w- w- with that in mind, like Polkadot is a very complex, like architecture complex like ecosystem, and as you say, like there's a lot of like technical jargon that people usually like use to display about to tell about the Polkadot, and but we also like the technical like innovations in Polkadot like keep growing every years. Like how the technical education team in Web3 Foundation like keep up to date with the informations that the ecosystem keep producing. Like how you sync with like other teams in the ecosystem, like the Polka VM team, Polkadot Hub teams, Polkadot 2.0 teams, to get like enough information to do the education stuff.
Yeah, so it's a challenge because like again, so these are like multiple teams like working day and night to produce this cutting edge technology, right? So nobody has thought through about like how to efficiently use block space on the blockchains yet. And that's when we had like Polkadot 2.0, where you use the block space that you want like efficiently. So you need not use it when you don't want it. And when you need extra, you're able to get it through like elastic scaling, right? So you're almost giving this sort of like cloud kind of like experience for like Web3 use cases. And that's a first. So no other blockchain ventured into that area at all, trying to make like block space efficient. And yeah, and that doesn't come easily. So it requires like the protocol to be upgraded. Earlier we had parachain auctions, and then from there we had agile core time. And then now we have this framework where you can order more cores, like to elastically scale the bandwidth. Let's say you're doing like a 10 million NFT airdrop. With other blockchains, you run into the issue of maxing out all the transactions, and the fees will go up. The user experience won't be the same for all the, airdrop like participants. Whereas with Polkadot, you're able to, scale according to the need, do the airdrop like, in a predictable, manner for all of the people, right? So we built the infrastructure. So we are now waiting for use cases to be onboarded onto it in a way. So so learning all of this from these individual teams, seeing like keeping up with like when they're going to do the updates, whether it's working or not, who would be testing it for the first time, right? So that's what like technical education team tried to do. So we launched our own chain called as Edu Chain, just for the sake of so most of the people working in Parity and these teams, so they have like system chains and like Polkadot SDK test framework, but they need somebody from outside to sort of test out their products and give them a feedback. So that's what we try to do it with EduChain. So we launched it on the test network as an on-demand parachain. So we were checking like, hey, how do we produce blocks when we need? How much transaction throughput can this get? So these were kind of questions that we were asking ourselves while actually implementing stuff, right? So and that's the spirit of like the tech ed team. Like we, okay, of course we get the updates from these teams, but we also want to independently like verify stuff. So the same thing happened with Polka VM as well. So we know RISC-V based like Polka VM. So it's supposed to improve like the performance of like smart contract code. Now, okay, so that's the statement, but how do we independently verify it, right? So we want uh, people to like deploy smart contracts on it. There should be some fair benchmarking between what happens when you do it on EVM versus what happens when you do it on Polka VM. So we ask these questions and then we don't take things directly from the team. So we independently verify it and then we make our own uh, conclusions out of it. So yeah, so definitely we have the channels with all these technical groups, but again, we also act as this independent entity that is sort of, verifying like what that's the spirit of Web3 in general. And even the hackathons that we organize right now, as Pat announced earlier, so we are doing this Polkadot Builder Party, like global hackathon. So that's being organized by the technical education team at Web3 Foundation. So the idea is that, okay, all these teams like Parity and ecosystem teams have built these wonderful products and APIs. How do we foster innovation with them? It's like an open call. We want people to tinker with all of these, try to create like products that people haven't thought of. If you just think of like smart contracts, you can only do so much, but can you extend it even further and then build something cool with it, right? So yeah, in short, yeah. So we do have our presence in all these like major Polkadot projects. We get the updates directly from them, and then we also do some independent work before like putting it out there.
Does the Web3 Foundation team also like involved in like the, I can say like the post onboarding process? Let's say like you already help, you already like distribute the content, distribute explain about the Polkadot, and people now interested about Polkadot, they on board on Polkadot to build. Do you also like involved in the process of like help them to during the development process? Because I think you also like, I think you mentioned about the DevRel involvement here. Like you have a group of like all the DevRels in the ecosystem, right? Yeah.
Yes, so I think this has been historically one of the pain points in the ecosystem. Like, people are already sold about the technology. So the moment we teach them at PBA or like we sort of do this PBAX or whenever I give the talks, like people see that, hey, there is something to like Polkadot. You can build like cool stuff with it. Now, so when they venture even further and then they're like, hey, let's try to develop something. So one straightforward way is to go to the templates or like the Polkadot documentation to get started with like building. And the next step, so far has been, okay, so either they apply for a grant, like at Web3 Foundation. So Web3 Foundation has this like grants program, or if they're like serious builders or who are looking at a commercial use case, they would be looking at a program something like Substrate Builders program, right? So it used to be active with Parity a couple of years ago. So right now there is no funnel for the developers to sort of hey, or at least for us, like to for us to like point to something and say, hey, this is how you get like onboarded. This is where you get technical help, or this is where you can be incubated. So we don't have that framework right now, but we're definitely like working on it. Because a lot of decentralization efforts have been happening in the ecosystem. So Web3 Foundation has been funding a few teams that would collectively get this framework in place. So yeah, very soon, like so we are hosting this hackathon, mainly to instill some tinkering spirit within people. We're going to see the ideas, and then if we see something really interesting come out of it, like we would be funneling them through the Founders Grant program that we have. So the foundation has this Founders Grant. With that, we give them like more exposure to the ecosystem actors, VCs, or wherever the funding avenues are. So we'd like to give spotlight to their projects and then sort of funnel them into the ecosystem. And then also, I'm aware that I think even Parity is trying to um upscale like their development support personnel. So I'm not sure about the status of it, but there have been talks to have like a dedicated team that is going to support external teams that are trying to build with like Polkadot technology stack.
Mm. Um, but do you, like does like the Web3 Foundation education team has any set of principle that you like fit into when designing the learning experience for the builders?
Sure. So like I said, the technical education team has like a broader audience. So developers are only one part of it. So for instance, we were approached to create like a course for lawmakers. We were approached to create a course for like regulators. We are approached to create a course for even like students, like university students, right? So builders is only a subset of like what we do. I think the closest uh, builder oriented course that we've done so far is the PBAX. We went to the Polkadot Blockchain Academy content. We tried to create like an online version of it, which is targeting like developers in general. Um, we did try to create like a Rust programming course, like and wanted to host it on like edX, but we had to backtrack because so fundamentally, the technical educators at Web3 Foundation, so we develop, but we are not seasoned developers. You know the difference, right? So if I myself haven't developed a parachain or like a production ready product, but I know how to develop things. So so I shouldn't be teaching like developers when I myself haven't developed like a proper product. So that disconnect would be there. So we would rather like hire like proper developers, somebody who develop like hydration parachain. We'd like reach out to them, bring them as the instructor to give the insights, and then we do like all the instructional design around the course. So we won't put like a 10-hour video there. We'll break it into chunks where people can actually understand what's going on. I think that's where we play a role because we understand that content and then we try to put everything together for people to understand. But yes, so whatever we learn, we try to create the content out of it so that others can learn about it too. Right?
Mm. Are there any kind of metric system that you base on when you like yeah when you gauge the effectiveness of the strategy when you apply like for the educational content something like that?
Yes, so I've been in the higher education like an experience that I had for like 10 years. So I've done numerous like these learning technology like metrics related assessment frameworks. So because we deal with a lot of like online content, whether it's wiki or like the online courses, so there is a way for you to gauge how engaged the readers are on the wiki. You can check the average time they spend on the page. There is also like a feedback where whether the page has been useful or not. So we have like multiple avenues where we get these sort of metrics and then we sort of act on them. And the same goes with like the online courses as well. So if you look at the PBAX graduation rates, like they're still way above like any other online education program out there on an average. So PBX already has the graduation rate around like 60 to 70% per cohort. For an online course that is much higher. So we definitely like look at how engaged the learners are, and then for especially PBAX, you have to finish every module. You have to give every quiz to finish it. So that sort of gives us a baseline on how effective we were in sort of putting the content together. Um, so that's for the regular courses, but I think the game completely changes for like developer related courses. So anything with like programming assessments, that's a whole different ball game. So I have experience, creating metrics for programming courses as well, but we've never really used it in the ecosystem yet. So right now I'm funneling all that experience into uh, organizing this builder party hackathon. So I'm sort of Um, so at the university, we create these assignments, which are very interesting for the students. So they all try to do their work and then submit it, right? So I'm doing this at a larger scale with like $40,000 like prize pool. And then now I'm going to funnel a lot of like these ideas. So we're even collecting the ideas from the community. So we'll put them all on like Polkadot forum. The hackathon participants have like 6 weeks, and then in that 6 weeks we are going to host some office hours. We're going to host some information sessions, workshops, all of them assisting them to achieve, the hackathon idea they want to realize with this. So I'm going to bring yeah, so my university experience to this hackathon and sort of make this one as a success based on the metrics. So we want like more participants. We want every participant to register to be able to submit something. And yeah, so we can come up with like some success metrics for that. But already, like I see 20 teams have registered, which is already a win. So if you look at the previous hackathons, we have around 60 to 70 registrations. But this one already has 20 and it has not even started. So it starts on October 6th.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, and I think that the amazing of the Polkadot ecosystem, like we have a lot of like decentralized organization, decentralized community that involved in the process. So like how, for example, like OpenGuild, we also have a education hub. So I'm curious, like how like all these what else, like communities can align with the visions of Web3 Foundation education plan. Because there's a lot of plan, there's a lot of communication happen in the ecosystem, right? So how can like this community or like anyone like wants to involve in this process can get aligned with the plan?
Sure, I need to thank you and like OpenGuild for putting together a course on Polkadot 2.0. So if anybody is listening out there, check out like this course put together by Tin through like OpenGuild on like Polkadot 2.0. So stuff like this, like definitely we can align. So one is you have created the content, you have seen a need, you saw there is no educational content on this topic. So being like a decentralized ecosystem, you take like the initiative, you took the initiative, you created the course, and now the foundation will play the supportive role of sort of distributing this content on the platforms that we sort of know, right? So that's one way to do things. So the other thing is if you have plans to develop any sort of educational content, if you reach out to us like early, so then we can sort of even do some kind of like joint effort, right? So this is what we did with like Polkadot Blockchain Academy. So we have uh, agreement with like Binance Academy as well to create a course. So Web3 Foundation Tech Ed team, technical education team is always looking to expand like the Polkadot learner base. Like, we're not restricted to one entity, so we want to engage with many educators, who are good at like different things. So definitely we are open, like, for collaboration and then aligning with like your vision. So if your target is to reach to developers, like, what best can the foundation do so that you achieve your goal, right? So yeah, I would say we are very aligned in that way. I think we just need to improve um the communication aspect of things first.
Hmm. How about the individuals like who want to contribute to Polkadot, like develop courses? Like, do we have any plan to incentivize the builders? I think like I remember like, in other ecosystem they have some kind of small bounty, small rent that help builders to like produce courses. Do we plan like to have something similar to it like UX bounty or like open source bounty or like Web3 Foundation brand, but for like education, maybe like education bounty?
Yeah, so this was like thought through before. I think so. Right now, the majority of the treasury funding, for education, it's being delivered to like Polkadot Blockchain Academy, right? So the Polkadot Blockchain Academy is taking the responsibility to sort of like train the developers, the kind of like people that Polkadot ecosystem the gaps are what it needs, like the gaps are being filled by the PBA team. So so there have been talks about like an education bounty before, but I don't think we made a lot of like progress about it. But putting like a bounty on educating, like through the so there we run into this um, complexity of like how do we assess the quality of the content being created. So we need like a set of like educators on a committee to be able to sort of like do it in a way. So right now, I think everyone is in the leading like education. Um, so for instance, PBA Tech Ed team, like we're all still like producing the content that can actually educate people. So once we have the maturity of the content, I think that's when we would be expanding to these content creators who are basing their content on the base content that we created, and then expanding it to like use cases or um, but yeah, so right now you also know that Polkadot changes often. Like, the content that you create last year, I think would be a little bit, it has to be tweaked to incorporate what's coming next. So there's always this. So as part of like foundation, we are being paid for, to change the content and then sort of do it. Like I don't know if the bounty will exactly be able to achieve the same goal in a way. So long story short, like yes, this was thought through like before, but it was adding more work for us.
Yeah.
So we put like a bounty on like wiki education articles. So we got interest from so many people. So they've all applied to create content. And then all we did for a couple of weeks was just trying to review all the content that we were getting. Whereas we could have spent that time in actually creating the content ourselves and then sort of, make a more accessible contribution there. So yes, so I think once we mature as a protocol and then we're like, okay, so all the base content is ready, then we can like incentivize instructors or like, content developers to build on top of what's already there.
Mm. Yeah, I also like, remember like one of my very first contribution to Polkadot is to write a doc on Polkadot wiki.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you remember that incentive thing, right? Yes. So we did that and then we were like, okay, so maybe it's better that we put the content out there and then we let the community pick up on top of it in a way.
Um, no, more interesting question is like AI. You know, like AI right nowadays, like it's crazy. Everything's like AI innovation is happening every day, and I think like there's a lot of startup, a lot of companies already apply to education process, like Duolingo. They also like use AI. They have a plan to replace all the instructor with AI. I think that's not a good move, but yeah, I also like want to ask, how are you using AI nowadays to in your education work, and also like, do you have any plan to use it to amplify the work for Polkadot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing that we did with AI was to add these AI chatbots on like the wiki and the Polkadot docs. So if you go to Polkadot wiki now, so there's like an Ask AI like chatbot. So and we have received like positive feedback on adding it. So it's making the search more effective. So it's giving all the relevant links that people could go to after it provides the summary. So the next way in which like we see AI, improving a lot of our workflow is so when I'm creating like presentations or talks or like even like videos. So for me, like AI sort of so I don't solely like rely on AI, but it gives like the base to begin with. So I could literally ask it, hey, my presentation is for 30 minutes. These are the topics I'm talking about. Like give me like an outline, right? So and then it gives me an outline on which the content is already structured. So now I'm able to like spend my time effectively balancing the content in there, putting it like in a way that's more structured and then more efficient in a way. So personally, I'm using, and even for like creating proof of concept. So there was this instance where I've asked AI to just create like a Solidity smart contract when I was just like trying to test like Polka VM. And then it sort of gave the code and everything as a package for me to just compile and execute. So so there are many ways in which you could like use AI to improve on like your workflow, I would say. I think it's a great assistant to have. But again, like treat it like an assistant, like don't treat it as the canonical or the boss in a way. Like you don't use it as it's like the reference. You always get it, and then you sort of use your judgment to decide whether what parts of it you want to use and what you don't want to. I think that's where the line is, like for AI usage for me.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great tip. Talking a bit about like the future outlook, like what do you imagine? Like, what's the success for the Polkadot education system ecosystem in the next like 2 3 years?
Okay, repeat the question.
Yeah, like what does like the success look like from your perspective for like the Polkadot education ecosystem in around like 2 3 years?
Yes, so I'd like to see the content mature quickly. So now that Polkadot 2.0 is a reality, so right now there's a referendum being voted on to get like elastic scaling to the protocol. So the next major upgrade would be if everything goes well, like Jam, right? So till then, we would like people to uh, learn about like what's going on in like Polkadot, what can you develop with it. I think a lot of education is tied to the Polkadot documentation as well. So I'm tasking my team with creating all these tutorials. There'll be more and more like blogs and tutorials coming out of like our team showing, okay, now this is the mature like API of like Polkadot. What can you do with it? And that's where our focus will be. And then there'll be lots of like online uh, courses in a way, like which will be put together. So the plan is to explore different use cases and verticals. Okay, so for gaming, there can be a short course on like how to use Polkadot technology stack for gaming use case. Same thing for like DeFi, same thing for like authenticity. So there's this thing about like deep fakes that are creating all this like fake information. How do you use like Polkadot technology stack to uh, you know battle that problem, right? So we have proof of personhood coming up. We have hopefully like content credentialing system framework also on like Polkadot protocol at the base level. So now that we built the base infrastructure, now is the time to educate people on the use cases and how to sort of develop them. So in the next 2 3 years, I'd like to see the technical education team playing an important role in sort of creating all this content that will bring like curious minds from universities, professionals who are trying to do something part-time. They should be able to take a look at these short courses and get an idea of like what can they develop with it.
Hmm. Yeah, to contribute to that, I think like personally, I also would love to see more interactive courses that can also like involve in the dot token. Yeah, I remember like 4 or 5 years ago, like when I learned about like Ethereum, I tried the crypto zombie, and it was like very impressive and easy to learn. And who knows, like maybe we can have something like interactive course for elastic scaling as in backing. They can also like involve a dot token for incentive. But yeah, I think that's also there's a lot of room and spaces that can be explored. Yeah.
And I think that's where like Polkadot Hub is sort of filling the gap. So all of these like small use cases, they need not use elastic scaling, right? So that's the common misconception about like Polkadot 2.0. It's not, so elastic scaling comes into picture if you're sort of like an enterprise which is not able to handle the traffic that you're getting versus like crypto kitties or crypto zombies is a small like application that you're using to tinker with and then trying to understand the technology or the framework behind it. So these are two different things, right? So elastic scaling is more about showing like our capability in sort of handling this large volume transactions. So that I think, so if let's say Amazon's or Google's or Facebook's are trying to enter like the Web3 space, so it would be interesting for them in a way. So and then we need to have like content and the demos or tutorials ready for them to experience what's going on. But for normal tinkerers like you and me who are trying to get the sense of like how Polkadot works and then how do I interact with all these features. I think Polkadot Hub, once it goes live, will fill that gap. So that's where you can start with a smart contract and then like, hey, the smart contracts are not enough to to satisfy the needs of my application. Then you think about like parachain.
Mm.
Hey, my parachain is not meeting the required like performance metrics, then you look at like elastic scaling, right? So there's this path for you where you start small and then as you grow, you always have something to look forward to. You're not stuck with like this smart contract paradigm for your application.
Thank you. Yeah, one last questions. Like, what's the one things? What's your advices to the community that could start like doing today to make like learning on Polkadot easier for newcomers?
Yes, so I would definitely ask. I mean, so if this recording is viewed in the future, I have something later on. But for now, the best way to learn about Polkadot is to tinker with it. And then the Dev Post Hackathon, the Polkadot Builder Party Global Hackathon, is a great opportunity for even beginners to get onboarded and then try out like different like Polkadot APIs, products, and like technology stack. So it starts on October 6th, 2025. So you have enough time. So we are putting together a lot of like resources. So there'll be talks, there'll be workshops, there'll be documentation. We are also adding this hackathon survival guide for like tinkerers. So it starts with the basic, like how do you interact with a chain? How do you launch your own chain? So it goes like progressively in a way that is very beginner friendly. So so now is the time, like, till the end of the year, you have this avenue where we'll be partnering with like OpenGuild, we'll be partnering with like Papermoon, and all of the eco devrel like teams to make this like very beginner friendly, like, hackathon experience. So so that's a good start. And then once we do this, I think we have enough learnings about like what worked and what didn't work. So in 2026, we'll be building content based on this learning experience. Okay, so what did the hackers feel was like, a big pain point? So we try to address all of those in the future education initiatives.
Yeah, thank you for your like a lot of insights to like both Web3 education team and also like Polkadot in general. And yeah, and also like, I hope that more builders gonna join the Polkadot Builder Party, and we can see like the next innovations that happening on Polkadot in the upcoming weeks. So yeah, and that's also at the end of today community call. And really thank you for joining us, and hope that we can also have more insightful conversation like this in the future. Yeah, thank you, Radha. Yeah,
Sounds good. Thank you very much for having me over.
yeah, thank you, and see ya. Have a good day.